Someone is watching you right now, not a stranger, not an enemy, someone you trust, someone you've laughed with, confided in, maybe even loved. And according to one of the most ruthless strategic minds in all of human history, Niccolo Machiavelli, that person has already calculated exactly how to use you. This is dark psychology at its most brutal. And if you don't understand it today, you will pay for that ignorance tomorrow, because the three types of people you're about to discover aren't monsters. They don't look dangerous. They don't announce themselves. They smile. They help. They appear loyal. And then, at the exact moment it costs them nothing and benefits them everything, they will betray you. Stay with me. What you're about to learn could change everything. Machiavelli wrote The Prince over 500 years ago, and yet every page reads like it was written yesterday about the people in your life right now. He wasn't a villain. He was an observer, a strategist who studied human nature without the comfort of illusion. He stripped away politeness, sentimentality, and wishful thinking, and he looked at people for exactly what they are, not what they pretend to be. What he found was uncomfortable, disturbing even. He found that most people are not loyal. They are convenient. They are not honest. They are strategic. They are not your allies. They are your allies for now, until a better option appears. And within this ruthless understanding of human behavior, Machiavelli identified specific patterns, specific types, archetypes of betrayal that have existed across every culture, every era, every boardroom, every friendship group, every family. Today, we're going to break down three types of people that dark psychology warns you about most urgently. By the end of this video, you will never look at the people around you the same way again, not out of paranoia, out of power, because the man who cannot identify his enemies will always be destroyed by them. This is Machiavelli's warning, and it was meant for you. The flatterer, the most dangerous person in your circle. Let's start with the one Machiavelli himself called the greatest threat to any powerful man. Not the open enemy, not the rival who challenges you, the flatterer. Courts are full of them, Machiavelli wrote, because men are so pleased with their own opinions that it is difficult for them to defend themselves from this plague. Think about that. A plague. That's the word he used. And here's why this is the first of the three types of people you must learn to identify immediately. The flatterer doesn't attack you. The flatterer feeds you. They feed your ego, your vanity, your need to feel admired, validated, exceptional. Every word out of their mouth is designed, consciously or not, to make you feel good enough that you lower your guard. They tell you your ideas are brilliant. They laugh louder than anyone else at your jokes. They position themselves as your greatest supporter, your most loyal advocate, your personal cheerleader, and it feels incredible. That's the trap. Because here's what dark psychology reveals about the flatterer that most people never understand. Their loyalty is never to you. Their loyalty is to the version of you that benefits them most. The moment you stop being useful, the moment your status drops, your resources dry up, or a more powerful person enters the room, the flatterer pivots instantly, seamlessly, without guilt. They will betray you not with malice, but with indifference, which is somehow worse. Machiavelli's prescription was cold and precise. Surround yourself only with people who are willing to tell you uncomfortable truths. A true advisor, he said, must be someone you cannot silence with your ego. If everyone around you agrees with everything you say, that is not loyalty, that is a warning sign. Ask yourself right now, who in your life never challenges you? Who only ever validates? Who has never, not once, told you something you didn't want to hear? That person is not your friend. That person is one of the three types of people Machiavelli warned us about most urgently, and they are waiting for the moment your back is turned. Stay with me, because the next type is even more insidious, because this one wears the mask of virtue, the opportunist, the friend who was never really your friend. Here is a scenario that will feel familiar. You're struggling. Things are difficult, money is tight, or your reputation has taken a hit, or you're going through something painful and private, and suddenly certain people become very busy, very unavailable. The calls get shorter, the responses get slower, the energy shifts. But then things turn around. You get the promotion, you close the deal, you recover, you rise, and those same people, they're back, warm, present, enthusiastic, talking about your success like they were there for all of it. This is the opportunist, and according to the principles of dark psychology, they are perhaps the most common of the three types of people you will encounter in your lifetime. Machiavelli observed that human beings are at their core self-interested creatures, not evil, just rational in the coldest sense of the word, and the opportunist has simply taken this self-interest and built an entire social persona around it. They don't hate you, they don't resent you, they feel nothing about you specifically. What they feel is attraction to what you represent, your network, your influence, your energy, your resources, your name. You are not a person to them, you are an asset, and like all assets, your value to them fluctuates. This is where Machiavelli's thinking becomes devastatingly practical. He wrote that a prince must distinguish between those who are devoted to him personally and those who are devoted to what he represents. Because the moment you lose what you represent, the second group disappears. They will betray you the moment your usefulness ends, not necessarily with a dramatic act, often with something quieter, a slow fading, a subtle distancing, a strategic absence at the exact moment you need presence. And here's the part that cuts deepest. The opportunist often doesn't even know they're doing it. Their self-interest operates below the level of conscious calculation. They genuinely believe they're your friend, right up until they're not, right up until something better comes along and they drift toward it as naturally as a plant turns towards sunlight. So how do you identify them before they will betray you? Machiavelli's answer: test through adversity, deliberately, carefully, observe how people behave around you when you have nothing to offer, reduce the transaction, remove the benefit, see who stays. Not who says they'll stay, not who promises loyalty. Watch behavior, not words, always behavior, never words. The opportunist cannot maintain their performance when there's nothing in it for them. They will reveal themselves through absence, through small withdrawals that, once you know what to look for, become impossible to miss. You are not being paranoid, you are being observant. And in the game of power, observation is survival. But wait, because the third type is the one that will destroy you completely, because this one is the closest to you of all. The resentful ally, the traitor who smiles the longest. This is the one Machiavelli feared most. Not the enemy across the battlefield, not the stranger with hidden motives. The person who is technically on your side, who has stood beside you, supported you, maybe even helped build what you have, but who carries inside them a quiet, festering, deeply dangerous emotion. Resentment. The resentful ally is the third and most lethal of the three types of people in this framework. And dark psychology identifies them as the most catastrophically underestimated threat in any person's inner circle. Here's how they're created. At some point, maybe years ago, maybe recently, something happened. You made a decision that benefited you and cost them. You received recognition they believed they deserved. You advanced while they stayed still. You succeeded in an area where they have quietly, secretly, desperately wanted to succeed. And instead of processing that emotion, instead of addressing it directly or walking away, they stayed. They stayed and they smiled. They stayed and they helped. They stayed and they praised you publicly while privately, nurturing a wound that never healed. This is what makes the resentful ally so extraordinarily dangerous. They are invested. They know you. They have access. They have history. They understand your vulnerabilities because you trusted them enough to reveal those vulnerabilities. And one day, when the opportunity is perfect, when the stakes are high enough, when the moment arrives that allows them to level the score without appearing to have done so deliberately, they will betray you, and it will feel like the earth has been pulled from beneath your feet. Machiavelli wrote about this with extraordinary precision. He observed that partial wounds are among the most dangerous things a leader can inflict, because a man who has been hurt but not destroyed will spend every waking moment plotting his recovery at your expense. The resentful ally has been partially wounded by proximity to your success, and that wound has been collecting interest for years. The signs are there if you know what you're looking for. They celebrate your wins just a half second too slowly. There's a barely perceptible pause before the congratulations, a moment where their true emotion almost surfaces before they suppress it. They frame your successes as partially their own in conversations where you're not present, not because they're malicious, but because resentment needs a narrative to sustain itself, and that narrative requires diminishing your achievement to survivable proportions. They offer advice that is subtly, consistently, strategically pointed in a direction that serves their interests over yours. Not obviously, Never obviously. But if you track it across months and years, a pattern emerges. Dark psychology teaches us that resentment is one of the most corrupting of all human emotions precisely because it disguises itself so effectively. Resentful people don't feel like resentful people. They feel like misunderstood people, like people who deserve more, like people who are simply waiting for justice. And when justice doesn't arrive on its own, they make it happen. So what do? Machiavelli's answer was uncomfortable but absolute. When you identify resentment in someone close to you, do not try to repair it with generosity. Do not try to appease it. Do not try to talk it down. Generous acts toward a resentful person are interpreted not as kindness, but as condescension, as proof that you feel superior enough to be magnanimous. Instead, strategic distance, gradual, quiet, non-confrontational withdrawal, reduce their access to your vulnerabilities, limit what they know about your plans, your fears, your weaknesses, and, this is critical, never, under any circumstances, embarrass a resentful person publicly, because humiliation transforms resentment into obsession, and an obsessed enemy with inside knowledge is among the most destructive forces you can create. Move carefully, move quietly, move. These are the three types of people Machiavelli warned us about. The flatterer, the opportunist, the resentful ally. But we're not done, because identifying who these people are is only half the equation. The other half is understanding why you allowed them in, and how that changes now. The psychology of why we trust the wrong people. Here is the uncomfortable truth that sits at the center of everything we've discussed. The reason they will betray you is not simply because they are flawed, it's because you allowed conditions that made betrayal possible. This is not blame, this is strategy, because the man who understands his own vulnerabilities is the man who can protect them. Machiavelli didn't just study enemies, he studied the psychology of those who were defeated, and what he found again and again was a pattern. Powerful people fall not because their enemies are strong, but because they are blinded by one of three things: the need to be liked, the need to be trusted, and the need to believe the best. These are not weaknesses in themselves. In small doses, in the right contexts, they are entirely human and entirely acceptable. But in the arena of power, in the context of high-stakes relationships, they become liabilities. The need to be liked makes you tolerant of flatterers, because if everyone likes you, if everyone is warm and supportive and validating, you must be doing something right, yes? No. What it means is that you have made your environment comfortable for people who benefit from your approval. Dark psychology identifies approval seeking as one of the primary mechanisms through which the flatterer gains access. You opened the door, your ego held it open. The need to be trusted makes you extend trust before it has been earned. You want to believe in people. You want your inner circle to be loyal. So you decide they're loyal before the evidence justifies that conclusion. And the opportunist steps through this door like it was built for them. Because it was. The need to believe the best is perhaps the most dangerous of the three, because it takes the clearest warning signs, the slow fade during difficulty, the half-second delay before congratulations, the advice that consistently redirects to their benefit, and it reframes them as coincidence, as misunderstanding, as something innocent. The resentful ally survives for years inside your circle precisely because your instinct toward charitable interpretation is stronger than your instinct towards self-protection. Machiavelli's message here is not cynicism, it is discipline. Discipline, the need for validation. Earn trust slowly, with evidence, over time and through adversity. And train yourself, ruthlessly, deliberately, to see what is rather than what you wish were true. This is not coldness. This is clarity, and clarity is the only real protection against the three types of people who are, right now, somewhere in your life, positioned to harm you. Machiavelli's Code. How the strategically aware person builds their circle. Now we turn the lens around, because dark psychology is not only a framework for identifying threats, it is a framework for building something better, something stronger, something that actually holds. Machiavelli was not advocating for a life of isolation and suspicion. He was advocating for discernment, for the ruthless, loving application of intelligence to the question of who deserves access to your trust, your time, and your inner world. So how does a Machiavellian thinker build a circle that doesn't collapse? First principle: value honesty over comfort. The people worth keeping are the ones who make you uncomfortable in the right way, who push back, who disagree, who bring you information you didn't ask for because they believe you need it. These people are rare, and when your ego encounters them, your first instinct will often be irritation. Suppress that instinct. These are your most valuable people. Second principle, watch behavior across time and context. Anyone can be loyal when it's easy. The question is, who shows up when it costs them something? Machiavelli was relentlessly interested in the behavior of people under pressure because pressure strips away performance and reveals character. Create low-stakes tests naturally through the ordinary fluctuations of life. Notice who reaches out when you're struggling with nothing to offer. Notice who disappears. Notice who is present consistently, not just strategically. Third principle, never confuse familiarity with trust. This is perhaps Machiavelli's most counterintuitive insight, and it directly addresses how they will betray you most often. We tend to trust people more the longer we've known them, but duration is not evidence of loyalty. The resentful ally has often known you the longest. The flatterer creates artificial intimacy deliberately. Time spent together is not the same as character revealed. Trust what you have observed under pressure, not what you have accumulated through routine proximity. Fourth principle, protect your inner world. Information is power. And the person who knows your fears, your financial situation, your relationship vulnerabilities, your private doubts, that person holds power over you. This doesn't mean becoming opaque or dishonest. It means being deliberately selective. Your closest vulnerabilities should be accessible only to people who have earned that access through demonstrated loyalty over time and adversity. Everyone else gets a version of you, not a false version, not a performance, but a bounded version, warm, present, engaged, and strategically protected. The signs, reading people before they reveal themselves. Let's get practical. Because the three types of people we've discussed, the flatterer, the opportunist, the resentful ally, all leave traces. And once you know what you're looking for, those traces become almost impossible to miss. Dark psychology has identified specific behavioral patterns that reveal each type before the betrayal occurs. For the flatterer, watch for absence of specificity in praise. Genuine admiration tends to be precise. I thought the way you handled that specific situation was brilliant. Flattery tends to be broad. You're just incredible. Everything you do is amazing. Broad, non-specific praise is the linguistic fingerprint of someone who isn't actually paying attention to who you are. They're managing your emotional state, not engaging with your reality. Also, watch for the strategic timing of their validation. Does the praise intensify when they want something? Does it thin out when you've already delivered? If compliments correlate with their needs rather than your actual performance, you're dealing with a flatterer. For the opportunist, the clearest signal is asymmetric availability. When you have resources, influence, or status to offer, they are everywhere. When your fortunes dip, even temporarily, they become difficult to reach. Track this pattern across time. A single absence means nothing. A pattern of absence during your low points means everything. Also watch for how they talk about people who used to be powerful. If they speak dismissively about former allies who have fallen from relevance, understand that they will speak the same way about you when your season passes. For the resentful ally, the signals are subtler but consistent. Watch for comparative diminishment, moments where your successes are framed in ways that minimize your agency. Well, you were lucky to have the right connections. It was really a team effort. These reframings aren't innocent. They are the resentful ally's unconscious system for keeping your success at a psychologically manageable distance. Also, watch for enthusiasm about your setbacks that is just slightly too fast. Not cruelty, nothing that obvious, just a flicker of something before the sympathy kicks in, a moment of almost relief. You'll feel it before you can articulate it. Trust that feeling. Machiavelli believed deeply in the power of intuition that has been educated by careful observation. Your instincts about people are often right. What corrupts them is your desire for your instincts to be wrong, your hope that the signal you received was a mistake because the truth is too uncomfortable. They will betray you when you choose comfort over clarity. Don't. Before we close, there's one final dimension to this conversation that Machiavelli embedded in his writing that most people miss entirely. All of this, the identification, the strategy, the protective intelligence, only serves you if you are, yourself, worthy of the standard you're applying to others. Because here is the dark mirror that dark psychology holds up for those willing to look into it honestly. The three types of people we've discussed are not entirely foreign to any of us. Have you ever flattered someone to smooth a path you needed to walk? Have you ever been more present in someone's life when they had something you needed? Have you ever felt a flash of quiet satisfaction at someone else's stumble? Machiavelli was not writing about monsters. He was writing about human beings operating under pressure, self-interest, and survival instinct. The difference between the person who eventually becomes dangerous and the person who doesn't is not the presence of these impulses. It is the conscious choice about whether to act on them. To become strategically aware, to apply the principles we've discussed today, you must also hold yourself accountable to them, because the person who hunts for betrayal in others while quietly practicing it themselves is not a student of Machiavelli. They are merely one of the three types of people wearing the mask of wisdom. Real power, the kind Machiavelli actually admired, comes from clarity about human nature combined with personal integrity, the ability to see the game without losing yourself in it, to protect yourself without becoming what you're protecting yourself from. That is the highest application of everything we've discussed today. So, let's bring this home. Machiavelli gave us a gift that most people are too comfortable to accept. He told us the truth, that the people who hurt us most are rarely strangers. They are the flatterers who fed our egos until we went blind. They are the opportunists who leveraged our trust until the transaction ran dry. They are the resentful allies who smiled at our side for years while nursing a wound we didn't even know we'd inflicted. These are the three types of people. They are real. They are in your life right now, in some form. And understanding dark psychology, truly understanding it, is the only reliable protection against the damage they can cause. But remember what we discussed in that final section. This knowledge is a mirror as much as it is a weapon. Use it to protect yourself. Use it to build better, more honest, more truly loyal relationships. Use it to become more observant, more discerning, more deliberate about who gets access to the real you. And use it to hold yourself to a higher standard, because they will betray you. Some of them will, inevitably, at some point, not always because they are evil, often simply because they are human. Your job is to see clearly enough that when it happens, it doesn't destroy you. Your job is to be strategic enough that the betrayal costs you something manageable rather than everything. Your job is to be wise enough, Machiavellian enough, to have already positioned yourself to recover, rebuild, and rise. 500 years ago, a man sat in exile and wrote about power with brutal, unflinching honesty. He was talking about the people around you. Now you know what he saw. The question is what you do with it. This opened your eyes today. If something here resonated, disturbed you, or made you think differently about someone in your life, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you want more frameworks like this, the kind that cut through the comfortable lies and give you the tools to navigate the world as it actually is. And if you're ready to go deeper into the psychology of power, trust, and human nature, the next video is already waiting for you. Stay strategic, stay aware, and trust carefully,